points and a reward that allowed him to choose any weapon of his choice. Kang spread his arms, looked up at the sky, and said, "This is the power of the ultimate being! Am I a god?" He then started laughing like a maniac. The scene shifted, and we saw Kang back at his house wearing an apron and cooking in the kitchen. Despite being a big deal in the tutorial, he was still a loser at home. Living at his sister's house for free meant he had to wake up every morning and cook. Kang told himself he was cooking in celebration of clearing stage 2. He was in a good mood, happily tasting the food, when suddenly, with a bam, Juhi burst through the door. Startled, Kang burned his mouth on the hot food. Juhi, utterly shocked, asked if Kang had really cleared stage 2. But before he could answer, a loud noise echoed across the earth, announcing that the tutorial had been completed. Those who had completed the tutorial could now freely use their abilities in the real world. Kang and Juhi were surprised, but their surprise didn't end there. Another notification appeared stating that the dungeon was activating and the whole world started shaking. Juhi and Kang ran to the balcony, and what they saw was beyond belief. A huge, creepy black door had appeared just outside their house. The system explained that this was a dungeon, and only those who had completed any level of the tutorial would be able to use it. This dungeon had appeared all over the world. The system then displayed a countdown indicating that there were 4 years, 3 days, 57 hours, 13 minutes, and 51 seconds remaining until complete connection with the Hakin dimension. After the dungeon appeared, the whole world plunged into chaos. Kang and Juhi decided to stay inside and look for organized, reliable information. That's when Kang discovered that the tutorial wasn't actually over yet. It turned out that a lot of people had just turned 18 that day and had received the tutorial for the first time. This meant that anyone who turned 18 would experience the tutorial. The world was going crazy, but Kang wasn't paying attention to all that. He was too excited to open his status window. He dramatically extended his hand and said, "Status window, open!" But nothing happened for a few seconds. Finally, the status window appeared, but it stated that the tutorial was still in progress, so Kang couldn't use it yet. Kang was confused, but then he realized that there were a total of 8 stages in the tutorial. It had been 8 days since the first tutorial started for others, meaning they had completed it and could use their status windows. But because of his resurrection ability, Kang was stuck in stage 2. This meant that until he completed all 8 stages, he wouldn't be able to use his status window. Kang was very sad upon realizing this. He asked Juhi if she had found any information about Stage 3 online. Juhi explained that the tutorial was so difficult that very few people had reached Stage 3 or 4, and those who had completed it were keeping the information secret. They didn't want others to gain power so easily. But Kang, showing off his body and biceps, said, "I don't need that information anyway. I'm a genius, and I'll complete Stage 3 just like that." But will he really be able to do it? Let's see. The scene shifted again, showing a beautiful night with a glowing moon. In that moonlight, a glittering, delicious-looking golden liquid was falling like a waterfall. It turned out that it wasn't a waterfall at all, but a tribal man peeing, and that pee was falling directly on Kang's face. Kang was sitting quietly in a ghillie suit, and the tribal man was peeing on his head. The pee dripped slowly down Kang's mouth, and his mind filled with rage. "I will kill you! I will definitely kill you, you nigga!" Then we go 10 hours back in a flashback to when Kang first arrived at Stage 3. As soon as he stepped into this new stage, the system welcomed him and announced that the name of the stage was Patience and Endurance Test. In any situation, the clear condition was that Kang had to kill a Gurkhan chieftain without anyone knowing. The fail condition, death. When Kang looked down at himself, he noticed he was wearing a ghillie suit. After assessing his situation, he realized this was some sort of hitman or assassin-type mission. He had never heard of a monster named Gurkhan Chieftain, so his first step was to find it. But before setting out on his mission, Kang wanted to check what rewards he had earned from Stage 2. He opened his status window and saw that he had leveled up from level 2 to level 4. His strength and agility were both at 10, stamina at 11, and magic at 14, with an additional stat point of 7. Not only that, he now had 3 abilities: basic swordsmanship, basic shield technique, and basic crossbow technique. Seeing this, Kang was amazed and shouted, "I am so rich! This is exactly how a status window should look." But Kang's happiness didn't last long. As soon as he opened the details for his basic shield and basic crossbow skills, he saw that they were practically useless. The shield skill was good enough to block local kids from bullying him, and the crossbow skill could only kill small goons. Kang's enthusiasm quickly turned to annoyance. Then, he remembered that because he cleared Stage 2, he had received a weapon as a reward. He eagerly opened his inventory and found a sword. Clicking on it, he pulled out a sparkling sword from his inventory. Kang admired the sword carefully, feeling very cool and powerful. He took the sword in his hand and started laughing like a madman, saying, "This is so awesome! I've always wanted to hold a sword like this." But the system, ever the buzzkill, notified him again. "This is just a shabby longsword." Kang's excitement turned to irritation once more, and he left in a huff. As Kang moved forward, he narrated to himself that Charlos Hathcock was a legendary sniper who had successfully assassinated a general from 1.4 kilometers away after crawling for 3 days. Kang respected him a lot. Kang had been crawling for 10 hours and had finally reached his destination, a village guarded by tribal people with drums beating in the background. He started thinking about how to kill the chieftain. There were many small huts, but Kang assumed the chief would be in the biggest one. At that moment, a guard slowly approached Kang, but Kang didn't notice him. After crawling in the grass for the past 10 hours, Kang had leaked pee, making his pants sticky and causing grass to cling to his body. Insects were biting him, and rainwater was soaking him to the ass. Kang was deep in thought when suddenly the guard appeared in front of him. The AIR seemed to leave Kang's lungs as he realized he might be caught. Kang looked up, and there stood a big, thick, muscular guard staring straight down at him. Kang thought his mission was over, but the guard slowly lifted his pants and started pissing directly on Kang's head. The guard, oblivious to Kang's presence, had simply come to pee in the grass, unaware that someone was hidden there. The pee kept flowing, dripping slowly into Kang's mouth. Kang's head was bursting with anger, his body trembling with rage. But he knew he had to stay calm, had to endure this humiliation. "I have to endure," he kept telling himself. "No matter what happens, I have to endure." The system had said this was a test of patience and endurance, and Kang was trying his best to hold it together. But then the guard started playing with his pee, letting it splash onto Kang's face. That was it. That was the final straw. Kang's rope of patience snapped. He leaped up, screaming, and started chasing after the guard, yelling, "I'm gonna cut your little pee-pee off!" The guard turned around in shock, seeing Kang's face still covered in his pee. Kang, screaming like an animal, charged at the guard with his sword in hand. In one swift blow, he killed the guard, cutting him clean in two. The guard's body fell to the ground, and Kang gave a satisfying smile. But his actions had alerted the other guards. They quickly surrounded Kang, more than 100 of them. Kang stood there, realizing he had really messed up. So he decided to go out with a bang. He thought, "I might as well say the line I've always wanted to try." Kang screamed with all his might, "Come at me, you son of bastards!" The guards charged at him, but because of his scream, the system notified Kang that he had acquired a new skill, Lion's Roar of Rage. No one knew what skill it was, but what was clear was that all the guards tore Kang to pieces and fed him to the animal. The next day, Kang was furious. He grabbed his ghillie suit in his hand and screamed, "I will kill everyone one by one!" His scream was so intense that the system notified him that his Lion's Roar of Rage had been upgraded to D grade. This new skill allowed him to lower the stats and morale of surrounding enemies and remove all debuffs on himself. We then see Kang throwing his ghillie suit into the air and screaming, "I will kill each and every one of you damn bastards!" before charging toward the guards. Last time, Kang had spent 10 hours hiding in the bushes, observing that in the morning, the guards would scatter to go hunting. This meant they were easier to pick off one by one in the morning. Armed with this knowledge, Kang began cutting them down one by one, making his way to the tent. In a moment, Kang was inside the tent, his face twisted into a sinister smile. He hissed, "I'm here, you bastard Gurkhan chieftain!" But what he saw next made him go crazy. Inside the tent was a fat, ugly chieftain sitting comfortably, but next to him were two mages activating spells. With a single command from the chieftain, the mages released their spells on Kang. Kang suddenly felt stuck, as if the gravity around him had increased tenfold. He couldn't move. He was trapped. Kang didn't understand how to get out of this situation until he remembered his Lion's Roar of Rage. Taking a deep breath, he screamed, "Die, you ugly fat ass!" The debuff was lifted instantly, and even the chieftain was shocked. Kang didn't waste a second. He charged at the chieftain, a satisfying smile on his face, and declared, "I am inevitable." before slicing the chieftain in two. With that, the system notified him that he had completed Stage 3 of the tutorial. Kang had gained a new ability, physical regeneration.